Okay, humans, here I have two case studies that are related to aging. Yeah. Okay. So why is it not? There we go. Okay, the first one is from a doctor named Wang Shixiong from the Qing Dynasty. You can see his dates. He died just after the Civil War in the US, but of course he wasn't in the US. Anyway, I want to thank Leo Locke for helping me translate a few things in this case. And in fact, he is so generous and has helped me so many times when I get stuck. So there's nobody like Leo. Thank you, Leo. Here's the case. A performing woman, which, could be some kind of courtesan, could be a sex worker. Anyway, her name was Zhang Ying, and she consulted me, Dr. Wang. She said she had come from a respectable family. She's, trying to point out that she's not cheap. When she was 14, her Tiangui arrived. That comes from Su Wen chapter 1, where it says that at 2 times 7, a girl becomes fertile. And the way that it's phrased is that her Tiangui arrives, which is kind of an untranslatable term. Doesn't just mean menstruation, because at 2 times 8 or 16, males Tiangui also arrives. So it's the thing that precedes fertility. Anyway, so she was married when she was 22. At 25, she gave birth to her first child. And when she was in labor, she only felt a mild ache in her lower back and abdomen. And then the child just came right out, like very easy birth for a first birth, too. When she was 32 and giving birth, it was still the same. Currently, she's married to her second husband. And she had never breastfed her children. And each time she gave birth, her labor was a little slower than before. This spring, she gave birth to a son, her 10th child. Wow, 10 children. And she only had 8 hours of labor. Ancient China had 12 double hours in a day, so 4 hours means 8 of our hours. Other people thought 8 hours of labor was pretty quick, but she knew it was much slower than before. It was getting slower and slower. And furthermore, even though she was 50, her Tiangui had not declined. In Neijing, it says it's 7 times 7 or 49. The Tiangui declines, and there is no more menstruation as the result, menopause. But she's 50 and she's still menstruating like before. She just gave birth at 49 or 50. She has absolutely no chronic disease. She's never taken herbs, or at least, she's not taking a lot of herbs right now. Um, she usually had a little vaginal discharge. And actually, what I'm thinking here, okay, the vaginal discharge was completely gone in recent years. So does this mean abnormal vaginal discharge, or does this just mean her normal vaginal secretions that lubricate and keep the vagina moist and so forth? I have a feeling it might be that she's just getting a little drier as she ages, that she's not talking about abnormal vaginal discharge, but it's hard to tell from the writing. Anyway, so she doesn't have any vaginal discharge now. It's disappeared for a few years. She has no other health problems, but she started spitting out some phlegm each day, coughing up some phlegm and spitting it out. She feared that the reason she came to me, Dr. Wong, is that she feared that after this she would suffer difficult childbirth. It kept getting the labor kept getting longer and longer, and she's still thinking she's going to have more kids after she's had 10 and she's 50. So she asked me to help her. I listened to this account and I was astonished because it is a bit unusual, isn't it? Even though she was not really beautiful. And she hadn't even put on any makeup, but she was distinguished looking and vivacious. She had a charm that, even though it wasn't physical beauty, she was very captivating. Her skin and muscles still looked like she was 30 something. She was really an attractive person. And Leo pointed out, this is really inappropriate talk for a doctor, even back then, to be commenting like this about a woman. So it goes on to say she was beginning to believe the saying that 3 rounds of rejuvenation for aging skin was true. So what was that? It's a saying that comes from a story from the spring and autumn period. I don't know, but I'm moving on. Hi, Dr. Wong. I felt her pulse. All 6 positions, 3 on each side, were moderate, slippery, and long. The left Sun and Guan were wiry and rapid. This is a sign of intelligence. And actually, the way that that's phrased is sharp ears and eyes and bright eyes or something like that. But that also means intelligence, and it gives me hope because my wiry pulse, maybe it means longevity and intelligence. Okay. Thus, for the longer her years, the more secure her chi. So, secure means held in, like a security system, prevents anyone from breaking in or anything from escaping. And so, if her wei chi is secure, it means she's not sweating. If her kidney chi is secure, it means she's not losing anything down below. So he's saying the longer, since she's so strong, and somehow the more she ages, the more secure her chi is. But that also means that the cervix will be more secure, and childbirth will be more and more difficult because kidney chi is holding things in rather than letting things go. So because of this, childbirth gradually slowed down. In the past, she had vaginal discharge, but more recently, she had phlegm. This idea, combined with the left Sun and Guan pulse, meant that fire fought with her fluids, so they didn't run downward. Okay, so the pulse was rapid. I guess, that means heat. What he's saying is that the fluids that were, called vaginal discharge, instead of going down, they were being moved up by fire, and the fire cooked them down into phlegm. So now, instead of having, moisture in, a moist vagina, now that's transformed into, some phlegm. Well, that's his theory, whatever. So I advised her to take a modified Lu Junzi tongue frequently to help deal with the phlegm and keep chi strong. If she had another pregnancy, then she should frequently take a certain formula when she reaches the 7th or 8th month of pregnancy. So this Shu Tai Yin, the ingredients are down here below. If you want to study the ingredients, you can pause the video. I'm not going to talk about them. But if she has another pregnancy when she's in the 3rd trimester, then she should take this fetus binding drink, and then she could expect an easy birth. She listened happily, accepted the formula, and left. I recorded this to show how she was endowed with an extraordinary body. Well, there's nothing you or I could take home from this to have such a body ourselves, but it's an interesting case. And there's a formula for late pregnancy. Okay. Here's another little case from Qin Fang by Sun Sumiao, Tang Dynasty, famous doctor. In former times, in 627 to 649, that time period, there was an old peasant who was more than 70 years old. During a visit with me, he said, "In the last several days, my yang qi has increased and filled in, so I think about sleeping with my old woman." Okay, so he's thinking about sex suddenly, at the age of 70, when it sounds like, this is a new thing in the last several days. My spring activity is fully capable. So what's a peasant spring activity? Planting seeds. Okay, so then of course that's got the image of ejaculation, planting seed in the partner. Right. So he's talking about sex and he's saying he's fully capable. I didn't know it could be like this in my declining years. You always hear about as we age, then sexual desire and ability decline. And he's saying, wow, I didn't know that this was going to happen. Is this good or bad? And Sun Tzu Miao kind of freaks out and scolds him. I replied to him, "This is very inauspicious. Are you the only one who hasn't heard of an oil lamp? When lamp oil is about to be exhausted, the lamp dims at first and then brightens. But once the brightness dies down, the lamp will be extinguished." So he's talking about Jing. And if he starts burning up Jing, the oil in the oil lamp, the Jing will be gone, and that's when you die. Now, he says, you are very old. You should have shut off Jing and stopped your desire a long time ago. Yeah, you should have stopped thinking about sex a long time ago. Now, spring emotions have erupted fiercely. Isn't this abnormal? I'm very worried for you. So, spring emotions, spring has the image of youth. Okay. And in youth, like teenagers, they're horny. So, now you become really horny. Isn't this abnormal at your age? You're in autumn. Why are you having spring emotions? So after 40 days, this old guy fell ill and died. This is the result of him failing to be cautious. So, uh, yeah, that's my story for today. Okay. Okay.